everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I just wanted to go over all of the nonfiction books that I've read this year. These aren't in any specific order. I'm just going to pick up each book, talk about it a little bit. So let's get into it. The first one I have is Surprised by Joy. This is written by C.S. Lewis, and it just talks about his earlier life, growing up Christian, losing his mother, and just everything that affected him in his earlier life. I really enjoyed this. I did give it a 5-star. I think C.S. Lewis is a brilliant author, and so I loved learning more about him. Next, I have As You Wish, written by Cary Elwes. I always feel like I'm pronouncing his last name wrong, but this is just about the making of The Princess Bride and everything that went into it and how it went from being a box office failure to a cult classic. I really loved this book. I highly recommend the audiobook because they have most of the cast and crew narrating besides the members of the cast and crew that have passed away. The next book I have is Science and Spiritual Practices by Rupert Sheldrake. This is a book that I actually did a buddy read with my brother on, and that I feel like made it even better because after each chapter we stopped and we just talked to each other about our thoughts on everything that was happening. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's talking about science and it's talking about spiritual practices in the sense of all different kinds of religions. And it's a great discussion book, in my opinion. I really enjoyed going into each chapter with my brother and just talking about like how science has explanations of why specific spiritual practices actually benefit us and things like that. And just, it was really good. I'm personally agnostic. I am not religious at all, but I really enjoy reading about religions. And so this is just a really great book. I am planning on picking up more of his works because it was so good. I really, really enjoyed it. Next, I have All of the Living and the Dead. I've talked about this on my channel a few times. It is by Haley Campbell. And I'm just going to read this little blurb on the top because I feel like I've tried to explain it so many times and I just flub it up every time because I try to say too much. Anyways, so this says, from embalmers to executioners, an exploration of the people who have made death their life's work. And I just found this incredibly fascinating. Again, as someone who is not religious, talking about death is very different than talking to somebody who is religious. And like I said, I'm agnostic, and so I'm not anti-religion, but whether you are or aren't religious, I just found this really fascinating because it goes into all of these different careers that have to do with death and the dead and the dying and all of that. It's things that we don't normally talk about, and I like that kind of stuff. Next book I have is The Quiet Rise of Introverts. This is by Brenda Knowles. I think it's Knowles. I got this because I am an introvert, and some people are saying that there are more and more people who are becoming introverts, especially because of the technologies that we have today. I did find this a very interesting read. It wasn't a favorite, but it is one that I am keeping on my shelves. This next one, I usually take off the dust jacket, so I'm just going to hold it like this. It's The Audacity of Hope by Barack Obama. I really enjoyed reading this. I don't read very many books about our presidents here in the US. I did think that this was very thought-provoking, and I probably will end up reading more books about politicians. But yeah, this is another one that I'm keeping on my shelves. And the last one that I still physically own, because I have some more that I used to own, I read and then I unhauled. It's the Hypothyroidism Diet Plan. I have Graves' disease, and so that is a form of a thyroid condition. I have struggled with my energy levels, my memory, my weight, etc. This isn't just a diet plan. It actually goes into so many different things that have to do with thyroid conditions in general. And then the later half of it is a diet plan. It's a daily, like, eat this for breakfast, eat this for lunch, eat this for dinner. These are the things that you should cut out, etc., etc. And it's not just for being able to manage your weight. It's also because some of these foods can affect, again, your memory, your energy levels, etc. So I'm keeping this for the dieting plans and for the information that it has. And that will actually lead me to one of the other books that I did have on my shelves before, and I have since unhauled it. So I'm just going to use my reading journal to remember authors' names. The other thyroid book that I had was the Thyroid Source Book by M. Sarah Rosenthal. This was actually published in 1996. And so some of the information I felt was a little outdated. And so I just read the sections that I felt pertained to me. So the sections that were about Graves' disease, the sections about thyroid conditions in women, and those things. And that wasn't a very large percentage of the book. And so I have since unhauled it. The second to last nonfiction that I've read so far this year was A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson. I really enjoyed this book. It literally is exactly what its title says. It's a short history about pretty much everything from the beginning of the world to where we are currently, and all of the theories and the science. And I really enjoyed this. I am planning on picking it up and having it on my shelves in the future. And the last nonfiction that I've read so far this year was On Getting Out of Bed by Alan Noble. And I equally loved and hated this book. It had so much great advice to it, and then it would literally turn around and tell you not to do any of the things that they just advised and do the complete opposite. And so it just felt like the entire book was very hypocritical. So again, it was like half of it was really great and the other half was the opposite. I originally picked up this book because I thought it was going to be talking about depression, because it's called On Getting Out of Bed. And I also struggle with depression. And so I thought, like, oh, this sounds great. It starts with the author talking about how there's not a single solution or a, one size fits all or, get fixed quick or anything like that for, depression, anxiety, all of these other mental health struggles that some of us go through. And it was just talking about how, like, anything that tells you, like, oh, just do this one thing and then everything is going to be so much better, like, it's inaccurate and you shouldn't believe it. And then the very next chapter, it says, if you basically, like, put God first in your life, then all of your problems will be solved. Which is literally what he just said isn't a thing. Like, it's not, you can't have one thing that fixes everything for you. But the one thing that he suggests will fix everything for you. And that was very frustrating. And again, I have nothing against religion. I don't think that religion is bad. I think it's very good for a lot of people. I feel like if you're religious or you're not religious, like, can we all just be kind and love each other? The main thing about this book that I didn't like was not the fact that he was talking about how God, the Christian God, can solve all of your problems. It was the fact that he went back and forth between, he would say one thing about how, like, don't let other people's negativity affect you and don't let those things, like, bring you down, etc., etc. And then the very next chapter, he's like, but make sure that when people are giving you these criticisms, that you take that to heart and you change, because those people are saying those things because they care about you. And it was just like, why do you have such polar opposite views in the same book? Like, I don't understand what you're saying. Anyways, so that book personally was a bust for me. It's not one that I plan on picking up. I probably shouldn't have ranted about it as much as I did, but I digress. Do you read nonfiction? And if you do, what are some of your favorite nonfiction books to read? Because the nonfiction genre is massive. There are so many different types of nonfiction. Let me know in the comments below. Talking to you guys in the comments is my favorite thing about YouTube, and my second favorite thing about YouTube is watching your content. So link me, tag me in your videos. I would love to watch your content, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.